No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. And today I have somebody who was by far a huge influence on me in my early years, Papoose.
Wow, man. I'm honored to hear that, my brother.
And you know I'm not capping because I just showed you a legendary BMX video part that was
definitely
scored to one of your earlier songs.
You definitely did, man. You blew my mind with that, man. I ain't gonna lie. And then the song that it was the last one I expected.
Really?
Take It to the Guns.
That's a classic that you haven't heard about in a long time?
Nah, it's a classic in my heart to me, but to hear somebody else, you know what I mean, of your caliber.
One thing that stands out to me when I watch that is how little I knew about guns at that time. I didn't know anybody who owned a gun. I never touched a gun. But hey, we knew that shit sounded hard.
No doubt, man. And that was dope. And the tricks he was doing on the bike was just crazy.
Yeah, 100%.
Dope.
The craziest thing about it too is just that Edwin De La Rosa, for those who care about what we're talking about, he was like the biggest, most influential rider from Brooklyn.
Wow.
So for him to be, and his video part that blew everybody's mind before that was to What Up Gangsta. So then for the second part to be edited to that song, and for them to start with the Bill Withers song, the Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone, and then transition into your song, oh my God, that transition killed me.
And you know what's crazy about that, what's interesting is back then we didn't have, social media wasn't as prominent.
Right.
So nowadays, if that happened to an artist, they would be able to connect with him and, you know what I'm saying, and cross promote or whatever. It just would have been a dope opportunity to even meet him.
Because we were riding BMX in New York City every day, and we didn't know any rappers. We never saw any rappers. I swear to God, I seen Jim Jones in a Lambo one time or something, and that was like my star experience.
Right.
It was just so much harder to like figure out how to mingle with people that you thought were important at that time, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely, man. Definitely. That shit was fire. I actually want to follow him some more and see more of his work. And
sure.
you too, because you used to do your thing too.
We used to ride bikes, yeah. That was a very long period of my life, for sure.
Wow.
Because, okay, I have another very like strong memory in my head. So I grew up more like outside Boston, like 45 minutes outside Boston. So New York City was kind of like always the place that we wanted to go, but it was like, you know, we didn't get to go there very often. And the first time I ever went there to ride bikes, we're driving through, I realized at some point as we start to get into the Bronx, like, oh shit, put the fucking radio station on Hot 97, because I've been hearing about Hot 97 my whole life.
Right.
I want to hear what the hell they're playing on a Friday night or whatever.
Right.
And I remember hearing the Jane Cam song, which was like, you know, the ultimate New York anthem at that time. New York
City joint, right?
And then all of a sudden they bring a kid that I never heard before on. His name is Papoose, and he's freestyling his ass off. And it was like the most aggressive thing I'd ever heard. And it just really like struck me like this is my first time I'm actually in New York City, like as an adult, and this is just the sound of the city to me at that time. Like it was a totally different level of aggression and bars and shit. And to me, that always just like cemented you as like the default soundtrack for that time period in my life.
Wow,
for sure.
Man, let me tell you something. That's influential for me.
Hell yeah.
Like when I hear things like that, it makes me inspired to stay on that path or get back on that path or just be creative, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that, man.
Okay, so tell me, like, what was the sequence of events that took place before you started to really end up on New York City radio, freestyling all the time and stuff? For people who don't know about early on in your career, what did your hustle and how were you building up your rap career approaching that time?
Oh man, honestly, you know what I mean, to be a MC was a dream of mine since I was a little kid. It was just something that I wanted to do, man. I became mesmerized by hip-hop. You know, hip-hop is something you live, rap is something you do. So I became attracted to the culture at a very young age, just the way they dress, you know what I mean? And I actually started out, if you want to go to the very beginning, as a beatboxer.
Oh, wow, I did not know that at all.
Yeah, I was a beatboxer. I was trash. Yeah, I was a trash beatboxer.
But you just picked that up around the neighborhood or what?
Yeah, man, I just was watching. I was very observant as a kid. And I picked it up. I just seen like cats doing it here and there. And a cousin of mine, he was basically telling me about different family members who were actually breakdancers, and one was a rapper, the other one was a graffiti artist. And I was like, really? They draw on the wall? I was like, I was young, like 7, 8 years old. And it just caught my attention from there. And then one day a family member had came over to the house, and he was playing, a friend of the family, and he had a cassette tape, and he was playing it. And I just heard this guy with all these metaphors. You know what I mean? Later on, I found out it was Big Daddy Kane. He was just rapping. It caught my attention. So he went to the bathroom. I took the tape out of the cassette, deck and I put it in my pocket. And he came back. He was like, "Yo, anybody seen my tape?" I was like, "Nah, I didn't see it, man." And that was Long Live the King, you know what I'm saying? And from there on, man, I said, "Yo, I want to be a rapper." I wrote my first rap. I went to school. I said it to my friends, and they was like, "Oh." I was like, "Yeah, this is what I want to do in my life."
Really? So from early on, you felt like you had some talent?
Yeah. I didn't know, but that reaction from my actual friends back then, that inspired me to write more rhymes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I was just grinding, and I ended up in the studio. A friend of mine in the neighborhood by the name of DR. Period.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Me and him was working together back then. The whole SMG, Smoother Hustler, Trigger the Gambler. We was doing like, projects together, music and that together and all that. Then eventually, I put out Alphabetical Slaughter back then.
Okay.
So I had Alphabetical Slaughter when I was a kid. I started writing it.
Oh, really? You started writing it then?
I wrote Alphabetical Slaughter when I was a kid.
Wow, that's so interesting.
So yeah, that's why
that's still the default thing that people who don't know that much about you, that's what they bring up.
Yeah. And it amazes me when people still talk about Alphabetical Slaughter to this day because I literally wrote that when I was a kid.
Wow.
And I only had 3 letters. I had from A to C. So when I would get into a battle and a rapper wouldn't tap out, I would do Alphabetical Slaughter and the battle would be over. They were like, it's over. You can't rap no more. You know what I mean? So, we decided to put it on a vinyl. So I finished it. I went all the way to Z and we recorded it. I put it out like maybe 98 or something like that.
Oh, you were out that early. That's so
put
interesting.
It out. Yeah, people didn't really know. A couple people knew about me, but not that many. Then later on, when I met Slay in 2004, that's when the world really heard Alphabetical Slaughter because we redid it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So you were somebody, would you say when you look back at it, I feel like a lot of people are kind of motivated these days to rap to represent their area or to, because a lot of times rap and like street stuff is so embedded with each other that a lot of times people like get into rapping to like diss somebody. You sound like you were really into it just from like a lyrical and creative and artistic expression.
Yeah, I love the creative side of it. I feel like that's very important because still sharp and still. So back then it was like if you rapped and I rapped, we had to go at it. There was no way around it. Oh, you rap for real? Oh, let's go.
Really?
Like it was automatic, and that's what it was about. So I came in, challenging, just what I mean. And in my mind, I already knew. Like my friends, if they heard somebody would rap and I was on another part of town, they would call me, "Hey, come over here, we got one." Like it was like I was like a cheat code. It was like we knew this guy wasn't going to win, so they would put money up. And this is real. This is real. I can curse on here, right? This is real shit. Like this is facts. So cats would put their money up, and I would just kill them.
Right.
I battled like 10 dudes at one time by myself. You know what I'm saying? And I was little at the time.
And you weren't getting money for doing this. You were just doing it for pure bragging rights.
The only money I would get is we would bet money. You know what I mean? And I would get that pocket change, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
A couple $100, nothing major.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That must be so hard for a lot of people to understand that being nice was that important.
It was
that
important.
Time.
The even battling for money didn't come until later. In the beginning, no. It was just to show your skill.
Right.
And it wasn't just rap. If you was a break dancer, a beatboxer, whatever it was, you wanted to show your skill. So it was about respect and about the craft more than a dollar.
Right. 100%. So at that time, were you doing like the sort of underground DVD circuit and the VHS tapes and all that kind of stuff before you got with Slay? Or is that how you got on his radar, or you just met him randomly?
No, I hadn't done none of the DVD stuff. What happened was, how I met Slay was, I was hustling. I was doing a couple things I had no business doing. I was in the street. Mm-hmm. And I had made a bad decision when I was younger. I was so confident in my music career, and this is what I encourage everybody not to make this mistake. I told myself that, hey, I don't need to finish school. I don't need to do none of that because one day I'm gonna be successful in music. And that was the biggest mistake I made, because if I could do it all over again, I would definitely go back and finish school, because making that decision caused me to end up in the street. So ended up in the street, I started hustling and doing things I had no business doing. To make a long story short, I got arrested for hustling at the time. But before I got arrested, I had heard the radio, and I heard this guy on the radio, and he was very interested in me because he was playing new artists. So at that time, if you wasn't coming in from Murder Inc., Rough Rider, or any of those camps, or Rockefeller, you wasn't getting on the radio. But I listened to this guy's show, and I always had a dream to be an artist, and he was playing new artists. I said, yo, this is crazy. I always kept that in my mind. So when I got arrested while I was hustling, and I'm sitting on Rikers Island, I wasn't there long. I was there for like 2 weeks or so. And as I'm there, I'm realizing that you got to get permission when to wash your ass. They can tell you when you call your family. You got to wait for visits. And to me, the only thing beneath that was death. So I said, yo, if this is going to be my future, I don't want this. When I get out of here, I'm gonna find that dude who I heard playing new artists, and I'm gonna get on with the music thing. So I got out and I went in the studio. I recorded 7 songs.
That really turned you off to the streets, like 100%.
Yeah, actually being in there and seeing how dudes was living.
Yeah,
I said, I already knew that was my future, because coming up in Brooklyn, you know you're going to get locked up one day. That's not your concern. Your only concern is when I'm there, I got to represent. I can't be no sucker. So that's the mentality that we're taught young. You're going to jail one day, but when you go there, as long as you represent, you're good.
right.
Which is ignorant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I had an ignorant mentality as a youngster, to be honest. And I told myself I want better for myself. So when I get out, I'm going to go meet this dude. So I got out. I went to the studio. I recorded 7 songs. I took a picture. I had a mic in one hand, a gun in the other hand, and I titled it Art and War. Word, I titled it Art and War. And I started selling them out of the trunk of my car. I was like, yo, this is how I'm going to make money. I'm not going to sell drugs no more. I'm going to sell CDs. I would stand in front of the car wash. I would stand in front of the train station. I would go everywhere. Eventually, as I was selling them, I developed workers. So they would take a profit and give me my money, and we all was selling Papoose CD.
What a beautiful time.
Yeah, it was a beautiful time. So back then, I wasn't computer savvy or nothing. I went to the Yellow Pages, and I found the address to Hot 97 in New York.
Right.
And it was 395 Hudson, never forget the address. And we hopped in the hoopty and we went up there to meet this dude, man, named K. Slay.
And was he a big fan immediately, or how'd that go?
It was hell.
Really? Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just being, me, proactive at this point. I'm like, yo, listen, this dude is on the radio every Thursday. He starts at 12 midnight. So he has to come through this door. I waited. Sure enough, here comes this dude. He got this jewelry. He got everything. He got
a lot of situations over the years happen basically like this. I'm thinking about Charlamagne getting punched outside the studio. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Except you had good intentions.
I mean, I don't know nothing about that. But so I waited for him. Long story short, I had my CD. I had my number on the back of the CD. I give him my CD. He take the CD. He go in the building. I'm like, okay, I can't wait. I'm excited now. I finally gave a DJ on the radio my record. I'm going to hear myself on the radio. I listened. He on for 2 hours. He didn't play the record. I'm like, shit. I come back next week. I do it again. Hey, my name is Papoose. I'm from Brooklyn. Here's my CD. All right. He walks in the building. Same scenario. I don't hear my record. So now I'm getting like, what the fuck? This guy's not playing my music. He's playing these other guys. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So this time, I said, when I come give this guy the CD, I'm going to wait downstairs. And if he don't play it, when he come down, he's going to have to explain to me why he didn't play my music.
Right.
So I give him the CD. I'm listening to the show. He's on from 12 midnight to 2 in the morning. It's like 1:50. I'm like, this dude ain't played this shit yet. So I'm like, fuck it. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to call up. I call up. And this was a life-changing moment for me because in my sick mind, this was like, it made me seem like my dream was possible because he answered the phone and I'm like, yo, why you ain't play my song? He started going off. Yo, everybody can't be a rapper. Some people gotta be a fireman. You know what I'm saying? He started going off.
Live on air?
No.
Oh, this is private.
This is he's on the warm line.
Right.
But we're going over. But as he's arguing back and forth with me, because I'm rebuttal and he rebuttal, the commercial break is over. So I hear it come over the air. So I was like, oh shit. I was just on the radio. You know what I mean? Like this shit is really possible.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I wait for him to come down. He come down, I approach him. I'm hot, he hot. This shit is about to go left at this point.
I never heard this story before. This is amazing.
Yeah. This is how we met, bro. So when I approached him, I'm like, yo, it's a heated moment. The person he was with cut him into in the middle. He said, yo, give me the CD, man. I got you. And that promise was, it eased my soul. I was like, all right, cool. At this time, I had a very close friend of mine who was acting as my manager. He was helping me out, try to meet people. We were struggling. It wasn't working. You know what I'm saying? He passed away. Had another negative situation. This is just my traumatic life as a youngster, man.
Right.
I had another negative situation, you know what I'm saying, that I was leaving from after he passed away. And while I'm in the middle of that, almost throwing my life away, you know what I'm saying, my phone rings. I answer my phone, it's K Slay. He like, yo, I listened to your CD, I got your number off the back. Yo, you on the radio next week. I'm like, wow, man. You know what I'm saying? So now I go on the radio. It's Prodigy, and a couple other brothers, and we rapping live on High 97, man. This was like a dream come true to me.
Wow.
And I actually spit Alphabetical Slaughter that night.
Were you ready at that time? Like looking back on it?
Yeah.
You were ready. You had been practiced. You were well practiced enough to be in this environment?
My confidence level back then was way higher than it is now. Like, I knew in my mind, like, oh, it's nothing nobody can say.
The kind of confidence you could only have as a young man?
There you go.
Yeah.
Like, my confidence was like, that never even crossed my mind to be ready. I was just like, oh, it's over. Like, my whole crew, it wasn't just, Papoose wasn't one person. That's what people don't understand. It was the whole Brooklyn, man. Like, that's why when I used to go to shows, I used to be 50 deep.
Right.
Because everybody already knew, yo, my man Pap is the truth. I don't give a fuck about nobody else. This kid is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was all our dream. My cousin, you know what I'm saying? We grew up more like brothers. And I'm even sad that he passed away before I could even really reach my peak.
But you're right, though, because at that time, it really felt like by us being Papoose fans, it was you, but it wasn't even just you. It was like, this is the new face of New York City.
Yes.
Because New York, you know, this is a couple years removed from 50 blowing up, you know, like, and 50's obviously still huge at that time, but it was like, it was such a breath of fresh air. It was so no bullshit at a time where we were kind of used to listening to everybody make hits at that time. It was very much like people were really expected to still do that. And you just came in raw as fuck. It was like, it was just so clear to us that this was like a new generation,
That's
new wave.
what people didn't understand. The Papoose was a movement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I had an army behind me that all believed in me, and we wasn't taking no for an answer. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we approached it. We had that mentality. So I think the fact that at every event or every time they seen me, that was what they saw, it intimidated the industry, and it intimidated artists, it intimidated DJs, it intimidated a lot of people. And it worked more against me than in my favor. Really,
you think? Oh, that's really interesting.
That played a major part.
Interesting. But so, okay, just I want to ask this, like, what's going through your head? You're sitting next to Prodigy. Yeah. He's been a superstar already for years and years and years at this point. He's unbelievable lyrically. Like, what was it like just being around these dudes who are on a totally different level than what you were used to at that point?
I was so hungry that I was just like, it's over. Like, my mentality. That's why I even understand, like, certain fighters when they go in the ring. I understand that, man. Like, losing wasn't even crossing my mind back then. I knew that all I needed was an opportunity, and it was over. So I was just like, oh, it's go time.
Right. And so did things just really start going up and up from there? And like,
no,
really,
it felt good, and it was up for me coming from where I came from, but considering, you know, being in a game and what needs to be done and what needs to happen, no.
Because that's a huge look, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of rappers who've been on a lot of radio shows. That was an important first step, but it's by no means.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, for me, where I come from and my entire circle and everybody who knew who I was, we was on level 10. Like, we lit. But I know I had a lot more to do and way more further to go. You know what I'm saying? And people received me well. The fans, I would do shows that was packed. People would be going crazy. I got a lot of love, but the actual industry, you know, I got a lot of pushback. I always did. It was always uphill for me.
Yeah, because, I mean, and it was a weird time for the music industry as well because they didn't know how to make money off of music at that point. Like, the CD sales were slowing down like crazy. Streaming is like a distant thought of like, well, maybe people will pay money for a digital download at some point. But like 2004, that was not an era that was really like a friendly time to be a new artist.
Especially
an artist who had like a real distinct regional sound to a certain extent, you know?
Right. DJ Envy told me that one day. He said, yo, Pat, you came in at the wrong time. He's like, yo, if you would have just came in like 2 years earlier, you know what I'm saying, or a few years earlier, he was like, yo, you would have been like king of this shit. He's like, but when you came in, people just wasn't fucking with New York no more. You know what I'm saying? That's what he told me one day.
Yeah, New York's image has had ups and downs. Like, there's been times where it seemed like it was almost impossible to break a New York rapper, right?
I mean, from my perspective, to me, it looks like the fact that New York created hip hop,
Yeah.
a lot of people, it seemed like they mad at us for that.
Yeah.
They mad at us because we started this shit. Like, they like, oh, y'all started it, but guess what? Now we lit.
Yeah.
So y'all take the back seat. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy because that's
what it
kind of
feel
the same for LA. Like LA, like there's a lot of like gangster rap and street music that comes from LA that just that is dope as fuck, but it kind of has a hard time finding an audience outside of LA because it's so distinctly LA. And New York kind of has that same issue.
But I remember when LA, you know, shit was running the whole game. When you put on Rap City, that's all you seen.
Yeah.
And I loved that era. That shit was dope.
100%.
Oh,
So what do you start doing from there, and how do you eventually like end up in the position where Kid Slay wants to sign you?
Yeah, well, right then and there, you know, we handled the business. He was like, yo, I want to sign you to Street Sweepers Entertainment.
Oh, wow.
This, that, and the third. He only brought me up to give me a shot, but when I rapped on the radio, he said that. He was like, yo, I got to sign this kid. So I signed to Street Sweepers Entertainment. This is 2004. Now, think about this. I became the hottest artist in the city in 04. Like, I started just putting out mixtapes, doing shows. Think about it, I didn't get a record deal till 2007. So I was just doing mixtapes and going crazy from 04 to all the way to 07, and I finally got a deal.
Right. It was such a different, it's so bizarre to think about that in terms of what the industry is like now, because now it's like if you're a new rapper who seems like you've got some talent, I mean, people are dying to sign artists that have like 5,000 plays because they think that he seems like he might be somebody in the future. Like the idea that you would have that hard of a time getting a label to believe in you is baffling.
Yeah. If you listen to my mixtapes, you'll hear K Slay saying it on every one. Labels, y'all can keep ignoring us. Don't worry, we gonna keep working. This shit was going on from 04 to 07.
Yeah.
It was uphill off the rip. You know what I'm saying?
And it was a crazy time where you kind of needed to sign in order to take your career to the next level,
then,
which is different now as well.
Back then, you needed it. But it was a great time for me, to be honest. It was a great time for me because I felt like it was finally happening, you know what I'm saying? And it was. I was touring the world.
Yeah.
Without a deal. I was touring and doing shows and killing shit.
It was just an amazing time in terms of New York hip hop in general too. Like everything that was going on in terms of Dipset, G Unit, all the shit that was going on sort of a more underground level with the mixtapes and everything. It was just like a lot of times when I think about why I became such a big hip hop fan, I'm like, well, when I was 16, Jay and Nas battled. When I'm 18, 50 comes out.
Right.
You know, then Cam comes out. It's like this is all in like that prime part of my life. And that's not even to say I was in first grade freaking out about Doggy Style and shit, you know? So it's I was born in an amazing time period.
You
know, I don't know how many kids feel that way these days.
Yo, you know it's interesting that you said that because sometimes, and not all the time, but sometimes I look at, you know, some of the kids, and I be like, yo, I feel sorry for y'all, man. Like, y'all getting cheated. Like you said, we had the Snoop era, you know what I'm saying? The Nas and Jay era, the Kane and G-Rap. Like, we had so many dope art, Pac, Biggie, you know what I mean? So many legendary artists who were very intricate and made all kinds of music. And it's like they just have one thing. I feel bad for you guys.
Yeah, but that's one thing that's important to keep in mind, and sometimes it can be kind of hard to believe it, is that, you know, there's some kid who was at Rolling Loud this weekend in New York City, and that music that he loves is just as important to him as all the stuff that we love was to us. And we can kind of look at it and say, like, shit is different, etc. But I mean, there's still a lot of excitement around rap music, which is hopefully something that we never see fade.
Nah, it's definitely you know, some exciting moments. You know what I mean? So I can definitely agree with you on that. But back then it was just like lit at all times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, undeniable. And it was just like in that area of music, it's like if there was a big rapper, it was kind of like everybody listened to him. Now it's like there's so many rappers that you could very easily be a rap fan and listen to like 3 rappers from Florida, and you ain't really even checking for anything going on in the rest of the United States. But you think of yourself as a rap fan. A lot of that has changed in a way. There's just so many more rappers, you know?
Nah, definitely. But you definitely got some artists now who are dope. I mean, they make some great music.
Definitely. As a rapper, what's some stuff that some rappers who really like stand out to you as like that's a guy with an amazing workforce and talent? Right.
Well, I'm not easily impressed, you know what I mean? But like I said, some artists definitely have some dope songs and dope moments. I like some of A Boogie stuff. You know what I mean? He has some records that I liked a lot. Meek, you know what I mean? I go fuck with some of Meek shit. Lil Wayne, you know what I mean? Lil Wayne goes crazy. You know what I mean? Man, just a few off top that I could think of.
You know what just stood out to me when I was just thinking about it is that you are one of the. There's been a lot of talented rappers out of Brooklyn who basically either had a legal situation or ended up getting killed way before they were done accomplishing what they were meant to do. And so at the very least, that's one important thing, is that you were actually able to see your career through, because when you look at Brooklyn, man, there's so many people that looked like they were about to be huge and it didn't happen for reasons outside of their control.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, I want young artists to look at that as an example. Don't make those mistakes, because it's easy when you're young, you know what I mean, and hot-headed and ambitious. Sometimes that can be steered in the wrong way and blow everything.
But were you somebody who was smart enough to, once you started to get that opportunity, you really took a step back from the streets and really tried to change your life?
I tried, but coming from where I came from at the time, I still had that mentality of, okay, if someone is not cooperating or if someone is hating on me, that I needed to clash with them. And that was my biggest mistake, because you can't mix the street with the industry.
Right.
Biggest mistake you can do. But I was so fresh off the street that I had the street mentality, and I came into the game with, this dude is hating, he's blocking. If a rapper said something about me back then, I would go find them.
Right.
And want to hurt them. Like, it could be a new artist or artist in the game. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Oh, you dissing me? Okay, we got a problem. And that was the wrong mentality. That was ignorant. You know what I mean?
Were there any specific situations that came up that really kind of might have soured the labels to you?
It was a bunch, man, to be honest with you. It was a bunch. But it happened after I got my deal.
Oh, okay.
Before I got it, I feel like it was just hate from other people in the game. They didn't want to see me win, but they really couldn't stop it. So eventually I got the deal. But when I got it, you know, I played a part, and I got to take responsibility. I played a part in my own downfall back then.
Right.
But I've matured a lot now, and I look at things differently, and I'm a whole different guy, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm on a straight positive path now.
I could tell. I appreciate that.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, a lot of the stuff that might have seemed cool as fuck to you when you were a young man, now you just kind of look back and you're like,
I'd be like, what was I thinking? Like, this was the dumbest shit in the world. You know what I mean? And you got to take responsibility for that. Because if you don't take responsibility, that means you'll do it again.
Yeah.
So you have to acknowledge what you did wrong, and that way you can move forward. So I acknowledge the dumb shit I did, but in the process of that, I also got to acknowledge that a lot of people hated on me back then, and they just didn't want to see me win. You know what I mean?
100%. So when you finally end up getting this deal, it was a huge deal was made out of it, because it was like he got signed for $1 million, which we had never even heard that number thrown around. Now, still a lot of money for artists to sign for, but you do hear that or even bigger numbers about certain artists coming out. What led to that? And were you holding out for a long time because you felt like you wanted to get a lot of money up front?
Yeah, at that point, eventually I had developed what they called back then a bidding war. I don't know if they still have those these days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had a mean bidding war going. A bunch of major labels were bidding. And I made another big mistake, which was I went for the most money instead of the best situation. And, you know, Def Jam made an offer back then. And a couple other labels, I can't remember exactly, but Jive Records came in at $1.5 million. And we was like, oh, we're going with the most money. It was a predominantly R&B label, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, it was the money, and also at the time, Chris Lighty was the president of the label.
Rest in peace.
And yeah, rest in peace to Chris Lighty, great dude. And I was in the process of signing to Violator Management.
Right.
So I was like, yo, it's a no-brainer. If I'm over here and Chris is the president, it's a good move. But as soon as I signed, he left.
Yeah.
So my project got left in the hands of some idiot, you know what I mean? From there, it was, you know, I was fucked, man. And I told the story once before, man. Back then, when I was doing my bidding war, I had got a message. I don't remember what device I was using back then. Probably was a Sidekick or some shit.
Era.
Some shit I had to flip a screen or whatever. But I got an anonymous message, right? And the dude was like, yo, Pap, I'm a big fan of you. You don't know who I am. But I was up at Jive Records, and I'm not gonna say this dude's name, but this certain individual was in the room and he was ranting. He's very upset that they're interested, that they in the process of signing you to the label. He was like, he was screaming out, yo, as soon as the single come out, I'm gonna get him off the label, and why would they do this and do that? He was like, yo, whatever you do, don't sign to Jive Records. So it's an anonymous message. I look at it. I go to Slay. I tell him about it. We're going to ignore this shit. You know what I'm saying? It was very weird that as soon as my single came out, that shit happened. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It was weird. But what happened was the owner of the label actually signed me himself. So when me and Slay flew out to meet him, he was like, you know why I'm signing you? I said, no. He said, the reason why I'm signing you is because my son is a fan of Lil Library.
Oh, wow.
And he signed me to the label. So the people at the label were mad because I didn't go through them. They couldn't manipulate my budget, and I was doing business with their boss. So they figured if they just didn't cooperate, didn't promote my music, didn't help out, eventually I would be fucked.
Wow.
And that's kind of what happened.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But so you and Slay, I'm assuming, were able to actually hold on to the advance you got?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't the kind of thing where it was sectioned out, where you got it piece by piece as your career goes on?
No, we was able to hold on. We left with the money, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't really happy about that because my career was what I wanted. You know what I mean? I was more ambitious about building a career, not just leaving with a fast buck.
Right.
So it was a real sad and down time for me. At the time, my wife blew trial, so I lost my deal. My wife blew trial, so everything was just bad for me at that time. And then I was in a space where, okay, you off the label, but you still have a name for yourself. You need to work extra right now.
Right.
And I chose not to work because I felt like my wife needed me, and that was more important. So I just put the music. I was like, forget about music. Let me focus on my wife. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, that's so interesting. So what year did you meet Remy and begin that?
Well, I met Rem back then, like 05.
Okay.
So at first we was friends, and it escalated slowly but surely.
Right. Did you guys hit it off as like rap friends at first, like entirely like non-romantic? Like you just were kind of like, hey, like I like that bar you had right there.
Nah.
Hey, I'm always kind of fascinated. Like, all right, I'm chilling with my girl the other night, and I know my girl, and I know that if I start watching a rap interview, that she's gonna zone out or go in a room or whatever, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna watch these VH1 clips because then you'll stay on the couch with me and watch it. Because if it's about a rapper's relationship, then she'll usually tune in. So we watched the full hour of the highlights of your whole VH1 experience with Remy and everything. And then it's you guys rapping together. And I'm just looking at her, I'm like, can you imagine me and you doing this together? Like, I'm just very fascinated by you guys both being like really, and for those who haven't like listened to Remy, she's extremely talented and really, really good at the job,
Yeah, she's a beast.
Yeah. Did you guys relate about that in the beginning, or like how long did it take before you were like flirting with her?
Nah, man. How we first got together was K-Slick called me one day. So back then, I'm fresh off the street. You know what I mean? I had bought my first house around that time though, because I had did good at what I was doing. And he called me. At this time, I was living in Long Island. He called me one day and he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna tell you right now, man. Remy's like my sister. She like you." He like, "But I'm letting you know, if you're gonna deal with her, you better be straight up because she's crazy." And I'm like, okay. So he like, yo. So he's like, yo, she called me up and she like, yo, I want to do a song with your artist. So he's like, yo, he set up the session for me to come do the song with her. I went to the studio. First, I went to the barbershop. I got a haircut. I went and got a new outfit. You know what I mean? Got the best jewelry. I'm like, Remy wants to do a song with me? Wow. So I come to the studio and she didn't show up.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So I'm like, all right, cool. But me and Slade was in the studio all the time. So the next time we was in the studio, she just randomly popped up. And actually, I saw her before that. She came in the studio and she was very rude. Like, she was just like, turn that shit off. And I had never seen nobody talk to Slade like this. She's like, turn that shit down and you go over here. Just do it. I'm sitting there, I'm like, yo, this woman is, I think I like her. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I stayed quiet. I was like, yo, I'm not going to say nothing because she's flipping on everybody in the room. And if she flip on me like this, it's not going to go good. So I stayed quiet.
I've been in a lot of rap studios, and I've never seen a woman walk in and turn the music off. Or the rap studio environment is the most broed out male emphasis energy possible.
She was like, turn that shit off. You go over here. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I had never seen nobody talk to Slade like that. But now I understand it. It's like a big brother, a little sister relationship. So he was like real passive.
Okay.
But that time I didn't say that and I stayed quiet. So later on, speed up. She wants to do a song with you. I come to the studio. She never shows up. She popped up randomly another time. We did a song called Bonnie and Clyde. And I just flirted with her through my whole verse. Like, wow. You know what I'm saying? I was just saying little lines and shit. And from there, we exchanged numbers, and we just became cool. We used to just chop it up. And she was actually kind of schooling me on the game because she had been in the game before me.
Right. She'd had a big hit by that point and everything.
Yeah. And I just thought everything was real. And she was like, no, this one is pussy. This one don't do what he say. This one, it's not like you think. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you see.
She seems very knowledgeable, street savvy, industry savvy.
Yeah, she's very smart.
A lot of guys would be intimidated by that, though.
Oh, no, I wasn't. I loved it.
I feel like as a rapper, you're so used to dealing with girls that are basically like subservient. Like they just want to fit in, they want to be cool, they want to be down, etc. And she's got to be like the complete opposite end of that spectrum, where she's in control as much as possible. She just like she doesn't mind throwing a tantrum or making a scene if she's not getting what she wants.
Yeah, I mean, very independent. She's the type of person, man. If you're straight up and you're real about it, you'll get along with her perfect. But if you're doing some under the table shit, you're not gonna like her because she's gonna expose you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just the type of person she is. She's just straight up, bro. Like, trust me when I tell you, it's you know, it's a great thing.
Right, definitely. But she was already dealing with the legal stuff when you guys started seeing each other? Or,
no, that didn't happen till around 08,
right,
07, 08. Like I said, right around the time where everything started going down for me. It happened like simultaneously.
Really?
Yeah.
And so you just describe your mental state at that time. Like, what were you thinking in terms of what you wanted to do with your life? It's like you've got the rap thing going, and then you got this great relationship, but then both of them seem like they're kind of headed on a crash collision.
Well, our relationship, you know, started to escalate. We would spend a lot of time just talking. We were friends. We would sit in the vehicle and talk, and next thing you know, it would be morning again. Like, that's how our conversations were. And, you know, we decided to get married. So we started planning our wedding on the yacht. You know what I mean? We had paid for it and everything. But at the same time, she had the case and she was on trial. So I was telling her, like, yo, listen, you're going to beat the case. Don't worry about it. She was like, no, I'm going to blow trial. I said, nah, you're not going to blow trial. So I said, hey, don't worry about it. If you blow trial, I'm going to be there for you. And she got pissed at me, like, because she didn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? She was like, yo, how would you say that? This, that, and that. I'm like, it's going to be all right. She actually blew trial. And I didn't feel like she deserved it. You know what I mean? They gave her a lot of time.
Because she blew it off?
Say that again?
Because she didn't show up, they gave her a lot more time than she might have got normally?
No, she showed up. She went to trial every day.
Oh, right.
But she blew trial. She got found guilty of the charges.
Oh, right.
So what I'm saying to you is that she didn't deserve it. Such a great person. You know what I mean? A lot of people lied during her trial. I won't get into that. But, you know, anyway, she blows trial. And I just had to make sure I supported her, man. I put everything to the side. At that time, I really didn't care about nothing. I knew that she needed me, you know what I mean? She had never been to prison before, so I knew she needed me more than I needed to be worried about other shit.
Right.
So I visited her every day, you know what I mean, around that time, every day. And it was to the point where one time I came to visit her, and one of the COs, she was like, hey, come here. Very disrespectful, but what they try to do is they try to intimidate you because they don't like when them inmates get support.
Right.
So she's very rude, and for any little thing, they'll terminate your visit. So I'm humble. I come up to the desk. She's like, why you keep coming here every day? I said, excuse me? She's like, she's not going nowhere. And I'm like, wow, these people are so disrespectful. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
So that's how much I was visiting her, that they was trying to detour me from doing it. But like I said, I knew she needed me at the time. And one of the things about prison is it's all about separation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So my goal was not to allow them to separate us, because without unity, you have no strength. So that comes into divide and conquer. So that's what breaks up the family when you allow that. I wasn't going to allow the prison wall to come in between us. So what I did was I functioned every day like she was still there. Like if something happened in school with one of the kids, or I had to make a decision at the crib, I made sure she was involved in that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that was one of the ways we got through it. And then also communication. You know what I mean? When I visited her, I couldn't touch her. So all we had was, they'd say, hey, put your hands on the table. You know what I mean? So all I could do was talk. And through us communicating so much, it built our bond. You know what I mean? So we would take turns speaking. Even if we had a disagreement, I can't speak while she's speaking, and vice versa.
Interesting.
So, you know, all of those things played a part, and it helped us get through it.
Yeah. But I mean, how hard was it to watch her go down for 6.5 years? Like, I mean, that must have been, would you say that was one of your greatest challenges as a man throughout your life?
Yeah. You know why? Because I watched her suffer. like I would keep myself together. I never showed no weakness, but it was times I went home and I just punched the walls.
Right.
Because I couldn't do nothing to get her out of there. It was nothing I could do.
And all you wanted to be able to do is be able to protect your woman.
Yeah, and all I could do was visit her. You know what I mean? And send her packages, speak to her on the phone, things of that nature. But I knew she needed me at that time, so I really didn't give a fuck about nothing else. I just tried to make sure she was good.
Right. Definitely. Yeah, because I seen like in a couple things in the Love and Hip Hop thing that was kind of like a real conversation that you guys were having, where you felt almost like you were in prison to a certain extent as well, because you couldn't just separate yourself from her situation. Like, you know, it feels like you guys formed such a bond that you couldn't just walk away like a lot of dudes probably would.
Nah, I couldn't. Man. It's like a lot of people ask me about that, but the best way I can explain it is like you see a fucking tornado going around and it hit somebody else and you're like, wow, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
But it hit home. So it was either you're gonna pick up the pieces or you're gonna run and leave everything fucked up. I just chose to pick up the pieces, man. I was just like, yo, she don't deserve this, you know what I mean? And I gotta make sure I'm here for her, man, you know what I mean? And that's what I did.
Right. So in terms of focusing on your own career, did it take a while before you were able to really like start rapping like your old self again, or did that whole thing kind of fuck you up?
Yeah, I put it to the side. I put it to the side for a while, and she used to tell me like, "Yo, you need to focus on your career. Like, you don't need to, like, don't worry about me so much." And I was like, "Nah, I gotta make sure you're good." And I put the music to the side for a long time. Then eventually, I started back here and there, but I never really got focused again, honestly, until she came home.
Right. That's interesting because, you know, even just listening to like your newest stuff, like you have a record out with Wayne right now that's like really crazy. Like when I put that shit on, I was just like, the world, I don't think ever accepted you for being as good as you really are. Like even to this day, like I'm talking about having that sort of infatuation with your music at that point. But like when I was just watching that Wayne video, I'm like, man, dude hasn't skipped a beat. Like you're still unbelievable lyrically.
Thank you.
And it's almost a shame that you hung it up for a period of time, because I'm sure that the music you would have put out during that era would have been pretty fire.
Yeah, man. It's crazy you said that, because I was just talking to my driver and he was saying something like that, like, you know, I know you was nice, but I didn't know you could make records. And I was trying to explain to him like, yo, bro, I always had the ability to make those records. I just wasn't given the opportunity. You know what I mean? The opportunity presented itself, and now I'm kind of able to show the world, like, yo, I really can make these kind of records that y'all can love and, you know what I mean, have fun to, as opposed to, you know, the other stuff. Yeah.
How much thought do you put into like kind of evolving your sound over time? Because that's one thing I heard listening to some of the newer stuff is like, I can feel how you're sort of embracing some of the patterns and the flows that exist these days while also adding your own style to it. And that's like kind of a tricky thing to thread the needle on, like messing with certain flows that the younger generation uses while still staying true to yourself.
Yeah, you definitely got to be able to do that, you know, like you said, while maintaining who you are. Never sell your soul, but don't be so pig-headed to think, hey, F this new stuff, I'm just going to do the old thing. You know, nah, you can't do that, because that's inconsiderate to everybody who loves what's going on now.
Right.
So I adapt to it, and I put my own spin on it at the same time. To answer your question, yes, it's been challenging, but I've been able to do it. Over time, I learned so much, man. To be honest, I've learned, you know, it's a marriage as far as between the music and the lyrics. Like, I was just so gun-ho on my lyrics. I was like, that's all I needed. But now I've learned more. So you see me working with better producers now, like Timbaland, Swiss Beats. And working with these guys, I've learned so much, man. It's a complete marriage. So that's why my music has been sounding a lot better now, because I've been able to grow and not be so young and stubborn and think you know it all. When you're young, you think you know it all. And, you know, when you think you know it all, you stop learning. So I've been able to mature and grow in those ways, and it's been paying off for me.
There is a big chunk of me, though, that when I'm listening to you say that, a big part of why we loved your shit early on was just because it was so lyrical and so violent, so aggressive, so brutal in your face, and so like not compromising, you know, like it was just, there wasn't like the girly ass song on the end of the mixtape. It was pretty much straight through.
Let me tell you something. I hate to say this, man, but yo, artists went and worked with me, man. It was great for my core fans, but as far as me growing and you know, really reaching my full potential, that kind of played a part too, because artists were intimidated, like, yo, if I do a record with this dude, he's gonna try to kill me on the record, you know what I mean? So I had to really like tone it down a little bit in that aspect so guys could be more comfortable to work with me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was another thing I kind of learned. And not to take nothing away from nobody, you know what I mean?
Right. But it's like during that time period, you were so used to, you know, you have somebody like Fabulous coming out of New York City and he's rapping his ass off on these mixtapes, but he very quickly like adapted to how to make records for girls, how to make records for the radio, etc. But in a way, I think it was pretty cool that you didn't really go down that road so much, because that's kind of how it is now. Like, you have a rapper like Pooh Shiesty comes out, he's a street rapper, like nobody wants to hear him rapping about girls. He don't even really consider going down that route, I don't think.
Well, let me say this also, because I don't want people to get this misconstrued. The lyricists can make records,
Right.
but the masses don't want to accept it from them, because if those guys are able to make records and be successful at making records, a lot of people won't have jobs. So they have to immediately shun them, like, oh, he can't make a record. Yeah, he's an incredible lyricist, but he can't make a record. So they want to do that fast. So you have to be very careful, very mindful, and be able to adapt just to fool them a little bit so they can feel comfortable letting you in, because they're already intimidated by you off the rip when you're a lyricist. Like, believe it or not, people think you only get hate because of materialism. No, people hate on talent. When you're a talented motherfucker, people are afraid of that shit, bro. They're like, off the rip, like, they don't even hear you make a record yet. And he's like, he can't make a record. They don't even want to give a guy a chance. And in reality, lyricists can do that shit. You know what I'm saying? But they get a hard time with it. So you have to adapt. I'm not saying you don't. You have to adapt and switch it up a little bit, because the deck is stacked against you as a lyricist.
Definitely. You were accused at one point of sneaking a key into the jail.
Oh, man. The biggest bullshit ever, man.
So that wasn't true. Because as I thought about it, I was like, I mean, he seems like a smart guy. That doesn't really sound like something that would really happen.
The biggest bullshit ever. I'll tell you the story.
Because what's the key going to do?
Right.
Like, you get out of one cell?
It was the most
I know
ridiculous
it's a different
story.
key for all the other doors in the, you know, like, okay.
It was the most ridiculous story ever, man. But I'll tell you what happened.
Okay.
So this is around the time when my wife blew trial. Remember I told you earlier we had a wedding planned.
Right.
Booked the yacht, everything. She blew trial, we lost all of that. Wedding canceled. So we said, okay, we're going to have to get married while you're in prison.
Right.
So you're able to have a ceremony on Rikers Island at this time.
Okay.
Myself, my mother-in-law, and my mother, 3 of us, we come to the facility, the wedding is set up. We come in, so I got my keychain. You know how you have like a skeleton key on your keychain?
Yeah.
Bullshit skeleton key. So when you go to, I don't know if you ever visit anybody in prison, probably not.
Sadly haven't, no.
Right, so when you come, you gotta, it's like you're going into, nowadays they got metal detectors everywhere, so it's a metal detector.
Right.
You go, you put your phone in there, you put your keys in the tray. The guy says, hey, picks up my key. Hey, you can't have this in here. I'm like, all right, no problem. He like, you want me to throw it in the garbage? I say, yeah, go ahead. He drops it in the garbage can. It's a process, so myself, the 3 of us, they let us through. We get on the bus and we go over to the facility. So now Remy has to come out and we do the wedding ceremony. They say, hey, the wedding is canceled, and they throw me in a cell.
What?
Yes, a fucking skeleton key, bro.
Just because of that? And
So-
they didn't even have any evidence that this skeleton key might...
This how you know it was bullshit. I would have been arrested if I did some shit like that.
Right.
They threw me in a bullshit holding cell for like 2 hours. Then they said, all right, you can go. When I leave, I get off the bus to go back to my car. It's fucking paparazzi. It's news channels. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
Next thing I know, I get back home, or the next day, I fucking open the newspaper. Papoose tries to break Remy out of prison. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Right.
I come here with my mother and my mother-in-law to break somebody out of prison with a fucking
Right.
skeleton key.
So much of this makes so little sense to me the more I started thinking about it, yeah.
You know, when Sean Bell was shot in New York 50 times by the police,
Right.
I made a song called 50 Shots. I marched with Al Sharpton 50 blocks. I did so much charitable things, you know what I'm saying? A congressman by the name of Major Owens took a liking to me early. I would speak out against all injustice. So they hated me. They used that shit as a moment to just kill me in the papers. After that, I shot a music video. A guy brought an ambulance truck that we could use in the video. The next thing you know in the papers, Papoose cons ambulance driver to use ambulance truck for negative rap video. I'm like, what the fuck?
What?
Like, they would find a reason to put me in the papers and destroy me.
Wow.
And it kind of, it made me look at things a little different because I stood up and I spoke for so many people. But at that time, I needed some people to speak up for me about how they was just slandering me in the media for no reason. And nobody did it.
But also, it'll make you never believe another story that you read in the news.
Oh,
again.
right. Oh,
You'll
yes.
always think in the back of your head, well, maybe this shit is just completely taken out of context because I know what they're willing to do to get a story.
They would kill me in the media back then. Around the time when my wife flew, they would kill me. They would kill us. Like, forget about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was crazy.
That's so crazy. I feel like that's something that the media has in common with the Love and Hip Hop producers, where it's like sometimes it feels like they're trying to sort of throw you under the bus for content.
Well, I haven't had that experience on there, to be honest. Other people did. I can't disagree with you.
Other people, 100%.
Yeah,
I just felt like I saw like little things that I was like, man, you got to show them a little bit more respect here.
Yeah, me, I didn't have a bad experience. I've made more money on television than I ever made in music. And I was able to show the positive side, of my people and how we live through television. I can't lie. I expected to get clowned when I did it. You know what I mean? When I really let them put a camera into my life and show how we was living, and people loved it. I guess people was tired of seeing us being made a fool of on television.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, it's just, I think people like seeing that example of this is what two grown-ass people getting together and building something bigger than themselves is. Like, this is what it really looks like on camera, because a lot of times, like in the media and on TV and stuff, they don't really want to show that of a rapper. They want to show a rapper in his crazy ass stage of his life where he's getting into beefs with people and shit like that. The part of his life where he actually builds something bigger than himself with a woman is. And
guess what? I was very proud of that, because before that, like you said, they didn't want to show it of rappers, and rappers didn't want to show it of themselves. I feel like, not to toot my own horn, but beep beep, after me and my wife showed Black Love on the screen, you see so many rappers and artists aren't afraid to hold their lady's hand in public to show love to their significant other. It's cool now.
And they fake relationships for shade room and shit now too. Academics was telling me the other day about how much of that is going on, and I was like, what the fuck?
And you know what? You know what's the saddest part? It don't last, man.
Yeah.
It don't last.
I mean, the rap music is a weird ass game when you have people faking beefs / like aggravating beefs to get attention to eventually stream more, or even faking relationships to just down the road stream more. I'm like, this is some weird shit, right?
It is, man. But on a positive note, we was able to influence. I feel like we played a major part in, the whole couples thing.
Yeah. 100%. That is a good thing. I think that's the internet too in general, is that the internet makes it easier and more pleasurable to see real life. Whereas that whole thing of like the fantasy of like a rapper, being 45 and still single and still living like he's an 18-year-old is
ridiculous.
Like, it's not really cool at the end of the day. And if it's a lie, that's whack too.
It's whack, man. It's so whack. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a false narrative that they was putting out there. Everybody had to seem available. Right. You know what I mean? And that's not the truth, man. You have money over bitches. Like, you got a mother, my man. Yep. You have a daughter. I always say, treat your lady how you would want somebody to treat your daughter. Sometimes I think we take it for granted how much shit has changed in hip hop. And I was thinking about that when I was watching. It might have been the Nothing But a G Thing video or whatever, where there's a skit where basically a girl who's at the party gets sprayed with a bunch of bottles of champagne by everybody. And like the whole joke is basically that everybody's just like laughing at this dumb girl who got owned by all these guys. And I was just thinking, I'm like, man, this shit seems so whack to me as an adult. Fuck. And it's pretty crazy that we don't even think about the fact that shit has changed so much, It's changed a lot, man. And I'm glad it changed for the better in that aspect, because come on now, we got to do better. Yeah, 100%. Especially as people with kids and stuff. It's like, how long can you pretend to have no moral compass? Right, exactly. Some people, I guess they need that, like you said, to stream or to seem relevant. I respect the artists that don't need that. What I mean? No gimmicks. I like, so when did you come up with the idea for the Black Love brand? Because I feel like that is a kind of genius move on your part that
you're building up the value of this brand through wearing the stuff on the show, and then also that it's kind of like a constant reminder that I think that you guys doing the show together is important because it shows what people having a serious relationship like this is and what it really looks like. I feel like you wearing the hat was kind of like a brilliant move on a part.
Yeah, the whole thing happened by default, to be honest with you, man.
I kind of wish it was a Thuggication hat. But, it is what it is, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy. It happened naturally, man. I swear to you. And that's part of the reason why I think people fell in love with, I think they know when it's fake, but I think part of the reason why they fell in love with our story and our relationship was because they seen it on their own. We didn't try to force it or put it out there.
Right.
You know, one time when my wife was locked up, I had to interview with Double XL, and they was like, "Hey, we want to come follow you for the day." And I was like, "Well, I'm going to go shopping, food shopping, to get my wife some food." Oh, okay, we're going to come film it. And they actually filmed me with like these big grocery bags and shit. And when that article came out, people started to see, and they kind of fell in love with the story. They started to follow it. So Love and Hip Hop started reaching out, and they was like, "Hey, we want you on the show." And we was like, "No, they throw drinks on each other on the show."
Yeah, right.
And if somebody throw a drink on one of us, it's going to be a problem. So we said no. But eventually, when my wife came home, we decided to do it. And Black Love was just my way of life. People just didn't know it. They just knew Papoose the rapper and Remy walk around the metal detectors. They didn't know that we was actually in a relationship, a marriage, have children, and we really live in a civilized home.
You just reminded me of how hard that bar was. And I walk around. You walk around the metal detectors.
Right. So Black Love was actually our way of life, and I was just wearing it because that was what I represented. It's sort of like you get a tattoo.
Yeah.
It represents me. So I put it on a hat, and I was wearing it, and everybody was like, "Yo, how can I get one?" I was like, "Oh, shit, okay. Maybe I need to be selling these things."
Yeah.
So that's how it came.
For sure. But you've been selling a lot of that stuff, or do you feel like the fan base has come along with it for
Yeah,
sure?
they actually did really good, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? People embraced it, and, you know, yeah.
100%. Okay, this is a question I have. How did there was this legendary Fat Joe issue that you had at a certain point, which I know you guys are on good terms now and everything. How the fuck did that happen while you were dating his artist?
Well, Fat Joe is my brother, you know what I'm saying? And
so you were cool before this. This was like a brief period where you weren't cool?
I'm gonna tell you this. He's my brother, you know what I mean? He's my daughter's godfather. You know what I'm saying? So I really can't. I don't even really want to speak upon that. I could just say he's a great person, man. I love him, and that's my brother.
Was that the type of situation that sort of made it so that the industry was less interested you in working with you as an artist at a certain point? Was that one of the situations you were alluding to?
Nah. Fat Joe's my brother, great guy. I love him. That's all I can say, man. You know what I mean? I really don't. I don't speak on that. You know what I mean?
Respect for sure. What about the Uncle Murder one? Can we do that?
Nah. Nah, man.
Okay.
Nah,
for sure.
man. Shout out to him, man.
That's
you know
that
what I mean?
growth.
Yeah, definitely, man. Shout out to him. I wish him the best, man. I don't got nothing negative to say about nobody.
One thing that kind of occurred to me this weekend, because I saw your wife at the rap battle up front. She took I think she was the only person with security there. B, she took a folding chair up front so that she didn't have to stand up, which was a brilliant move. That nobody else had the balls to do that, but she just did it, and I'm like, everybody in here wishes that they did that.
Well, hey, look, the security is there to protect people from her.
By all means,
not the other way around. Because guess what? People provoke you.
Yeah.
See, we learned this from experience. People provoke you, and then when you react to the bullshit they do, they want to sue you.
And the TMZ article's about you.
Right.
The TMZ article's making you look like a hothead.
So those people are just there to protect people from getting themselves hurt, so they don't get a lawsuit.
Definitely. But it occurred to me in that environment because they had Cassidy and Freeway come out and announce that they were going to do an official battle, which I think is amazing for hip hop overall, battle rap culture in general. Man. Like just bringing that back, reminding everybody of how intense that lyrical battle was back in the day.
Shout out to them.
And so meanwhile, I'm watching them do this announcement, and Remy's sitting right there watching, and I just thought, hey, Papoose would be such a no-brainer to kill it in that environment. I don't know if you've thought about it, or would you ever be tempted to battle?
Man.
There's a stigma associated with it, but I swear the stigma got to go away at some point.
What you mean when you say stigma?
It's just not maybe looked at as the coolest thing. it's maybe looked
Think
at
so?
as like kind of a lyrical nerd type thing to be involved with. And, you know, I understand that.
Nah,
But I
man.
mean, you could clearly, I'm sure you could handle yourself in that environment.
I love battle rap, man. Let me say that first. Those guys are gladiators, and I salute all of them. High salute. They know that. I go to the events and I tell them when I see them, yo, you dope, you dope. You know what I mean? I give respect and I give props. I came up doing that, man. I like I was telling you earlier, I used to do that shit when I was so little, man. I used to do it a lot. And then when I came and became a recording artist, I kind of felt like I grew. You know what I'm saying? I made it here. You never know, man, what the future holds. You know what I'm saying? I don't even want to, you know, normally I say, nah, I'm cool because I'm such a fan of it. I just enjoy watching it. You know what I mean? If it's the right offer, you never know.
It's getting more mainstream, man. Drake's birthday
They
party
just gotta
was that
make
event.
They got to make it really worth it for me, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And you never know.
They're throwing around some pretty big bags, but I don't know if they're Papoose bags. I mean, if it's a Cassidy bag or a Freeway bag, I'm sure that they're not trying to do it for the low.
Those are
so,
legends.
Yeah.
Those are legends. You got a great point. You never know what the future holds, man.
Yeah.
I won't shut it down.
100%. But I mean, you have talked about potentially retiring. Like that's kind of been out there in the news and everything like that. What is that stands out to you that maybe you don't want to keep doing this forever?
Basically, I want to focus on my investments. I want to focus on my family more, and I gave a lot of years of my life to music. So this year, when the year started, I said, you know what? I'm going to release an EP every month this year, titled after the current month.
Wow.
And by the grace of God, I was able to do that. I got 10 EPs out this year so far. And I wanted to do that. Part of the reason was to say thank you to all the fans who supported me over the years. And my plan was, yo, I'm going to do it every month, every EP, all the way up to December, and then I'm going to retire. That's it for me. And so many people been on my head about it. Buster called me the other day. He's like, yo, you're not retiring. I'm not letting you retire. You know what I'm saying? So many people was like, yo, you can't do it. But that's what I want to do, and that's my plan. That was my plan at the beginning of the year.
Do you feel like if you retired that it would kind of close the door on that chapter of your life and let you focus on all the stuff you have going now
because
more?
I'm going to tell you what it is. When you're so passionate about something the way I am about music, it becomes you. You know what I mean? Throughout my life, it was always, all right, Pap, you know what I mean? He's talented with music. This is his craft. He love it. This is what I do. And it became me. Whether I was in the street, you know what I mean? When I went legit and started getting into real estate and doing great things, music was still always a part of me and my true passion. So I truly, in a way, I don't know who I am outside of this. So I kind of want to close that chapter of my life so I can explore new things, focus on my family more. I got a 2-year-old daughter. She's amazing, the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me. And, you know, I have
Seeing
other children.
how hard you guys went in terms of how important it was for you guys to have a child was a very, I have an 11-month-old right now. That just really warmed my heart to see that you guys both
it was so hard for
cared so much about doing that, even though it was so difficult.
It was uphill, you know, miscarriages, you know, the prison thing.
Yeah.
There was so many things that got in our way, and finally we got my daughter. And I just want to make sure I give her as much of me as possible. I have other children, and they'll tell you I'm a great father, but I was always grinding and chasing
running around,
things.
trying to
now I'm in a
get
more
something.
comfortable space in my life, and I just want to enjoy life with my daughter. I don't want to be, you know, chasing a music career throughout her life, you know?
Right.
I don't want to be doing that, and you know, so it's in my plans, man. A lot of people telling me don't do it, but it's been a part of my plan, right? And you know what's crazy? Also, I said, yo, to be honest, I said to myself, I said, if I don't get the respect I feel I deserve by the end of this year, me dropping the EP every month, it's even more reason for me to leave. But now I've had so much success, it's crazy.
Right.
I had so much success. I'm talking about Timberland, Swiss Beats, you know what I'm saying? I've been able to work with so many legends, Lil Wayne, you know what I mean? The list goes on.
Yeah.
Me and Fab just did a joint, you know what I mean? Me and Fab, shout out to him. Anthony Hamilton, I've been, and all these records, the Wayne record is taking off crazy. So now that I'm in retirement is in my plan, here comes the success, you know what I mean, that I've been looking for. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, on one hand, if you were to kind of shut the door on it, well, one thing I was going to ask is, did you kind of like start to think more about that, of maybe it would be more enjoyable to be behind the scenes in terms of working on the music industry because you were sort of involved with Remy's career for a long time, and you're helping her make the right moves and make the right decisions. But then at the end of the day, you're not the one getting out there on stage and having to really be the star of the show.
I wore the management hat for my wife for a while, and I learned a lot doing that. So, like you said, you're a genius. I was like, yo, I can do a lot more, from behind the scenes. I can push some artists. I can do some ghostwriting. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things I can do where I don't have to really dedicate so much of my time.
Right. So you've done the ghostwriting thing. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
It's something I want to get into. Okay. Very, very heavy. I want to.
Very interesting. I just got reminded of this, but have you ever seen the meme that said that Papoose is a legend because he is the first dude to ever get a shape up in a fitted?
That's bullshit.
We could put it on the screen, but I don't know if they edited the photo or whatever, but it's just you getting a shape up and you got a hat on. Does this? Do you remember that photo, where it came from or anything?
Yeah, I was in Long Island. What happened around there? Yeah, they used to troll me a lot back then, period.
Memes in general, that was like such an early
So
internet
what happened
meme.
was we were shooting the video, and I got a haircut.
Okay.
So, when you get the haircut and you about to leave, you put on your hat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the dude's like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot something. You understand?
Yeah.
So in the process of him doing that, he took the picture.
Papoose was born with a fitted.
Yeah. Silly. But yeah, the haircut was over, man. Dude went to tighten something up on the way out. Somebody took the picture. So they was like, so around that time, they used to troll me a lot.
Right.
So somebody that was with me was like, oh, I'm gonna post it. And somebody was like, nah. I said, yeah, go ahead, post it. Let them troll me. You know what I mean? I told him, I said, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, hey.
And sure enough, here we are 10 years later. I love it, though. I love the memes, man. Hilarious.
Yeah, that is a fucking hilarious one. Even though it's pretty obvious that that's not what's going on in the picture, but it's just like...
Man, nah. The haircut was over. I put the hat on. I was about to leave.
Right.
The guy with the tighten something up. Snap.
Yeah. 100%.
Classic.
Okay, so at this point in your life, like, could you really see yourself like are you trying to like live a life where you have rapping as like, a good side hustle / passion, and then really like focus mostly on the other side of your life? Do you think that you can kind of like compartmentalize rap into a smaller role in your life, or do you feel like you're addicted personality enough that you're just inevitably going to end up going hard?
I hope not, man. I really want to hang it up and just go on with my life, focus on my investments and my family. Like I said, it's a lot pulling me back. I didn't know I was going to have a big record with Lil Wayne by the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know all this just beats from Timbaland. The list goes on. I didn't, Jermaine Dupri, I didn't know Nelly. I didn't know all this was going to happen. You know what I mean? So, I'm still thinking it over, but it's definitely more. I'm leaning more towards the retirement.
Did you and Wayne have a relationship back in the day, or how did that song come together?
No, we actually didn't. When he was locked up on Rikers Island, Mac Main had called K Slay. He was like, "Yo, Wayne really, he really likes Pap, man. He wanna work with him." So I was like, "Oh shit!"
Wow.
Because Slay had called me and told me, and I tried to visit him on Rikers Island, but it didn't work out. I wasn't able to get in. You know what I mean? But I actually tried to go visit him because I wanted to talk to him when Mac Main made that call. I couldn't really get in the conversation with Mac to find out what was going on with that. Because he was like, yo, Wayne is a big fan of Pap. He wants to work with him. So I said, all right, he right here in Rikers. Let me go talk to him.
Right.
That didn't work out. So that was it. I had met him one other time, but just recently, me, doing these EPs every month, I just reached out to him. And he responded quick, man. And I got a lot of respect for Wayne because he did everything he said he was going to do, and that's very rare in this industry. Not only did he do the record, he said he was going to do the video, and he did the video when he said he was going to do the video.
Right.
100% a man of his word, and I just respect that. And then when you meet somebody, you get to really feel their energy. So I could just tell, like, it's a solid individual, man.
Yeah.
So we talk all the time here and there, you know what I'm saying, and chop it up, man. Great
He seems
dude.
like the kind of person who's just like permanently focused on rapping too. Like he just
think so?
He has such a hard time like turning it off. Like I just hear about him recording crazy ass amounts of music, and
wow.
he just seems like such a natural. Even I was talking to a girl that he signed yesterday, and she was talking about just getting in the studio with him and how he just goes off without any hesitation, no preparation. She just made it sound like
definitely
incredible.
one of the GOATs. You know what I'm saying? When when I thought, nobody from no other region could rap that good. Wayne was one of the guys that I heard and was like, oh shit, I might need to rethink this. You know what I mean? goes ape shit on the mic.
Definitely. Shout out Wayne. We are on the West Coast right now, so I would be in error if I didn't ask, are you and Kendrick on good terms at this point?
Shout out to Kendrick. I haven't seen him in a long time. Shout out to Kendrick.
Okay.
That's all I can say, man.
That was a pretty funny beef in retrospect to look back on. That's pretty crazy. But he said, that you helped him out super early in his career. What was that in reference to exactly? This is way before you had any kind of issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. They came to New York, and I took them on a tour through Brooklyn. I took them through all the neighborhoods, all of the hoods in Brooklyn.
Wow.
Just showed them around for the whole day, and yo, this is Bed-Stuy. Yo, this is Brownsville. This is where I grew up at. Hung out, showed them love. I had a show in Long Island. I actually brought him out on my show, introduced him, and let him perform, and he killed it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm actually happy to see the success that he was able to make.
Right.
Coming from that, he was just like a upcoming artist at the time.
Right.
So I helped him out by bringing him out on stage and letting him shine, you know what I mean, and showing him through my hood.
And then he ended up returning the favor years and years later. What was that actually? Was that Summer Jam or what?
Yeah, it was a big mix up and confusion with that. You know what I mean? I really don't want to go backwards, man. I just want to say, man, shout out to Kendrick, man, and much success to him.
Fair enough. For sure. People, they could look it up if they want to see what happened, but it's a little lyrical back and forth. Yeah,
yeah, it was what it was, man. You know
for
what I mean?
sure. Okay, and I wanted to discuss this topic too, is that, you're coming out of Brooklyn. Brooklyn, we've seen a big uptick in terms of like New York City rap popularity over the past couple of years, but a lot of it is very, very street associated, even more so than like from your generation coming up. It was like, I'm sure you guys had all kinds of different shit going on in the streets, but it didn't usually make it into the music. These days with the drill shit and everything, it's like the street aspect of it is almost like it doesn't even really exist without all that street shit. Observing that, what do you think of it, and what would your advice be to any of these rappers who maybe are getting a lot of attention, but a lot of it is sort of built upon violence and issues with other people in the city?
Yeah, very confusing to me. It took me a long time to even get used to that, because I'm gonna be honest with you. Back then when we had beef, what you seen on the mic, it was nothing compared to what was going on. Like, we was warring behind the scenes. But you know what? We kept that off the record. We kept that off the cameras. Like, you was a clown for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? You was more real and respected if you kept that away from the limelight.
Right.
These guys are rushing to the limelight with this shit first, and as you can see, it doesn't end well. You got these indictments, these huge indictments coming up, and I would advise these guys, man, to don't move like that, man. Very foolish. You're setting yourself up. Some of these guys have promising careers ahead of them, and they're throwing it away by trying to prove something to the internet, to social media. I don't think they realize the police also have an Instagram and a Twitter page and all that shit. So when you're
especially
showing
in
guns,
New York, bro.
You know what I mean?
Even before social media was so huge, New York City cops were all over what was going on online, MySpace, music videos, etc.
Forget about it.
A lot of places the cops are more lenient, where I don't feel like the cops are on social media as tough in LA. I don't hear about people getting wrapped up because of that stuff so often. But New York City, they want you locked up if you're flexing guns or drugs on social media, anything like that.
But they're doing the job for police. The police don't even have to work as hard no more. Only thing they got to do is look on social media, and everything is there. Back then, it was an investigation. They didn't really know. The hip-hop cops hated me back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, I'm a great guy now. You know what I mean? I changed my life. But these guys, they got to do better, man. You're making it very much easy. Like, if you go into... When I knew... Everything changed. When I was a little young, I went into the precinct. I had got arrested or whatever, and I went to the precinct. And everybody in the precinct had a laptop. I was like, yo, this shit is crazy. It wasn't like that before.
Right.
So they're watching that shit.
100%. And hey, if I was a cop and I wanted to apprehend people for crimes, I would probably be looking online because it's like you're gonna find so
don't
much
gotta
more
do nothing.
information than what I'm gonna get a wiretap. I'm gonna like the old school way of doing it. You're gonna sit outside in a van and listen to something. No, you're gonna fucking get a subpoena for their Instagram DMs, and then you're gonna go figure out whatever fuck shit they're into because apparently
right.
most people don't have the self control to keep that shit off of their iPhone.
They rush to show it on there, and you're hanging yourself, man.
Yeah.
You got to promise a career ahead of you. Focus on it. Don't mix the street don't mix the industry with the street. Bad combination.
Yeah, I said to Hellrell the other day when I had him and JR and everybody on here, I said, all those years of listening to Dipset, and Dipset were, one of the premier gangster rap groups in New York City. I never one time heard y'all talk about who you were beefing with or who you had issues with besides a couple times where it was another rapper. You had issues with Nas, you're talking about Nas, but you're not talking about the guy down the street. Now they talk about the guy down the street.
Right. The goal was to keep that shit out of the limelight.
Yeah.
Keep it in the street. That was our slogan back then. You know what I mean? And we lived by it. I'm not proud of that neither now, but I'm saying that's how we moved back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%. Are you on the lookout for new talent? Is that something you'd really like to pursue?
Yeah,
like having a rapper under your wing?
Absolutely, man. Shout out to my brother Manson, you know what I mean? Downtown, E-Dub, the producer.
Okay.
All the new people that I'm working under me. And also I got some other real young artists that I'm working with too.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all gonna hear real soon.
That's amazing.
Definitely, man. I can't wait to get into that.
When's Remy gonna put music out? She hasn't put a project out since 2017. I was seeing she has a new music video out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
but
you know what it is? Remy's so rich that she doesn't like. She's just she's so rich, man, that she doesn't go that. You know what I mean? She's not like a starving artist. You know what I mean? She has so much money, man.
Is she loving mom life too?
Yes, that too. And she just did a movie. You know what I mean? Called Big 50. You got to go check that out.
Okay.
I don't know if she let this out yet, but she just scored on another movie role.
Wow.
She's about to shoot, and she's like the leading star.
Yeah.
And the one she just did, and this one right here, I'm not sure if she's leading star, but she just scored another big movie role. So like I was saying to you earlier, she's so rich, man, that she just does music when she feels like it.
Right.
And for a guy like me who's so passionate, I'm sitting there watching this shit, and I'm like, wow.
Right, because me going back through her YouTube and like just being reminded of how crazy her career was going a few years ago.
Yeah.
That just doesn't really happen that often. Like for,
it doesn't.
It's hard to blow women up in the rap game. It's hard for someone to go away for 6 years and come back and have people still care. And she was just, just to have that much success that late in her life,
Definitely.
pretty amazing.
A lot of success, and I'm telling you, it's so natural, bro. Like, it's so effortlessly, you will be sitting there like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, she'll just write a verse when she feel like, and it'd be the most craziest verse. You'd be like, you serious?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, she definitely has a project ready to go, but when is she going to put it out? I don't know, man. Like I said, she's getting money from a lot of other places.
Do you guys ever just hop in the studio and make a song together just for fun, or is that a little too, it feels too serious that you can't just do it for fun?
Nah. She's more of a commercial side. I'm more the other side. You know what I mean? We totally disagree on music.
Really?
We have opposite opinions on music. We don't agree at all. Her top 5 is ridiculous.
I don't even want to ask.
Her top 5. I'll be sitting there like, come on, you kidding me?
Wow.
I told her one time when she told me her top 5, I was like, yo, Pun is rolling over in his grave right now. Like, but that's her, man. You know what I mean?
If a beat comes on and you guys are in the car together, are you going to kind of start tossing lines back and forth with each other now? I just love the idea of being a rapper and being in a relationship with another rapper so you can kind of just do rap things together. But
I mean, we've done stuff like that before. People seen us on the BT Awards and shit like that, but does it ever happen in the crib? Nah. Probably playing around. We just be playing bullshit. Like, dead serious? No.
Okay.
But just joking and shit, yeah, baby.
That's good to know. Yeah, man. Anything you want to tell the people about? Anything that they should keep an eye out for?
Hey, listen. Papoose featuring Lil Wayne. You know what I'm saying? Produced by Timbaland. Thought I was going to stop. I got the Thought I Was Going to Stop challenge. If you can rap, tag me. I'm reposting. I'm dropping it. I got an EP every month. October is out right now. I release on the final date of each month. On the latest one, I got production from Jermaine Dupri, features from Fabulous, you know what I mean? Shout out to Fab. Shout out to Anthony Hamilton on the previous one. Shout out to, I said Wayne, I said Timbaland. Shout out to Swiss Beats, Pete Rock, Large Professor, DJ Premier.
Oh.
Man, I hope I ain't forgetting nobody, man. Crooked Eye, you know what I mean? He's featured on the joint.
Shout out Crook, saw him this weekend.
Shout out to Crook. Shout out to man, I don't want to forget nobody, man. So many people, man. Everybody that featured on my monthly projects, man. I salute you. I appreciate you, man. And make sure y'all go to all digital platforms and pick up that new Papoose single on Lil Wayne.
Let's go. Papoose, legend in the game.
Yo, and salute to you for having me, man.
I hope you can tell I'm a real fan and like, you know.
Nah, man. Yo, listen to me. I appreciate you, man, and the hospitality you shown me. I flew out here just for this, bro. I'm going back on the red eye.
That means a lot, honestly, man. Like just because your music was the soundtrack to a very, very important time period of my life. But when I first moved to the city, you know, that was when I'm riding bikes in the city every day, banging your shit all the time. I mean,
yo, man, I watch your interviews and, you know what I mean, I'm a fan of what you do, but I never knew that, man. You know what I'm saying? And to hear that, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Papoose.
Love, man. Respect.
My man. Much love. Papoose, No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. Check us out on YouTube, Apple Podcast app, Spotify, Patreon, all that. Like, comment, and subscribe. NoJumper.com. If you want to support, go turn my man up on streaming services as well.
There you go.
Appreciate you, Doug.
Peace and love.